So, thank you all for listening to us for a short while, or more pertinently, listening to Hayden. I'm Tom Stafford, Managing Partner of DST, and we have the pleasure of being one of the shareholders of Bulb and a proud supporter of what Hayden and Amit have been building at the company. So I think just to set some expectations, it's about 15 minutes or so. We're going to do about 10 minutes just talking about Bulb, what they're building, why they're building it, and then we'll have an announcement, and we'll talk about that announcement for the last 5 or so minutes of our session. So maybe we just start, Hayden, with, I think it was 8 months ago that we were last on stage together. Tell us a little bit about what's happened in that sort of time frame.
Yeah, well, I guess quite a bit. So in the last 8 months, well, we've grown. So we've grown to supply 1.3 million homes in the UK with renewable energy, which now means that our revenues are 1.3 billion pounds a year. The team's grown quite a lot. I think, 8 months ago we were maybe 150 to 200 people.
I think when we invested, you'd just broken 100 people at the time.
Yeah. So we now have over 400 of us. We've moved office, so we moved into our own office from a co-working space, so we're in a building there by Liverpool Street. And the other thing that's happened in the last 8 months is that we've been working a lot around some of the new things that are coming through in energy. So we've been working on things like smart metering and a smart tariff, helping our customers who have solar panels export their energy onto the grid, those sorts of things.
I probably should have started with maybe the story of why I invested. So obviously you're a wonderful chap, etc. But one of the reasons I really invested was you saved me a lot of money when I switched my household onto Bulb.
So all those presentations were
kind of worthless, but my bill was different, so it was very valuable. Let's just take a step back. Why are you able to save me? I think I saved 25% on my energy bill. How are you able to do that?
Yeah. So the main way in which we do that is there's a big chunk of anyone's energy bill which is made up of operating costs for that energy supplier. It's the cost of that energy supplier providing customer service, working back office operations to make sure that the customer's being billed correctly, activities around wholesale energy trading, maintaining the meters that are in the grid, those sorts of things. And Bulb is able to do that activity that makes up about 25% of the bill. We're able to do that with way more efficiently by using technology to automate a lot of those processes and to basically make it more efficient. It's an inefficiency that I wasn't aware of as a consumer. I remember before I started working in energy, I just thought that all of my bill went to electricity and gas and the generation of it, and maybe also to the network. And those things are quite costly, so they make up about 70% of the bill, but a big chunk of it is just how that energy supply is run, and that's where we thought we could improve it.
But the other key thing that sort of I find really fascinating is that a big part of the usual energy bill that people have is, as well as the marketing cost embedded to pay for the churn rate. Because these big companies like Centric, et cetera, are churning people so fast, there's a huge element of replacement cost embedded in a bill. So talk a little bit about your approach to customer service, your NPS, and what that kind of delivers in terms of the flywheel of keeping your customer base, which means you don't need to pay for the replacement.
Yeah. So I first started working in energy when I was a management consultant, and I worked on this.
I'm not sure you're allowed to admit.
Yeah, I know.
I shouldn't have you're a management consultant.
Revealed that, but I was a young person.
Okay.
And I was working with one of the big energy suppliers, and I was really surprised at the type of service they were delivering to their members. So their customers. So they would leave customers waiting on the phone for a really long time. They would use these what I thought were kind of slightly opaque pricing tactics, where a customer would sign up onto a tariff, let's say it was like £900 a year, and then 12 months later, there would be a switch, and the energy company would start charging that customer £1,100 a year. And so that kind of massive price increase would really upset customers. And I think a combination of bad service and opaque pricing led to a real destruction of trust between consumers and their energy companies. So when we were thinking about improving that and changing that, we obviously wanted to do things differently with Bulb. So the first thing we focused on was delivering really good service. And then the second thing was we wanted to just have one tariff so that when people switched to us, they always knew they would be on our only deal, on our best deal, on the deal that a new customer would be getting as well. The result of those two things means that there aren't many good reasons to, once you've signed up to Bulb, there aren't many good reasons to leave Bulb because you're on the same tariff. And the result of this is that Bulb's churn is about a quarter of what our competitors have. And that's really good because it means that our customers are happier. It reduces our operational costs because onboarding is quite complex. And as you said before, it helps us reduce our costs as well around marketing.
So you mentioned a little earlier that the last 8 months you've been spending a lot of time thinking about and building technology for sort of the future of where energy is going. And part of what we've talked about before is sort of moving from being an energy supplier to being sort of a service provider to a home and to a person and helping them manage their energy from end to end. So talk us through a little bit about how that's going to work, what you're building, and why this is important.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite exciting. We started this business, and we know that it's not going to be the same in 10 years' time, that people's relationship with energy is going to change quite rapidly. And so even though we're disrupting quite an established industry, we know that we ourselves are going to have to change quite quickly as well. So today it's quite simple, really. There's electricity is generated in large power plants or with large wind turbines away from the home, and then it's shipped over the grid into people's homes, and that's a kind of pretty simple one-way system. But we're seeing that change, right now. So there's over 1 million homes in the UK that have solar panels. There's I think something like 500,000 electric vehicles. We're expected to be more than that in far more than that in the years to come. And so with solar panels, electric vehicles, and also with electric vehicles, you get more battery usage as well. With those three things emerging, you're going to have the home is going to be not just an energy-consuming sort of node within this network. At points, it's going to be generating power. And so we think that our role as an energy supplier today is going to change. We're going to have to help people manage this really complex system that they have in their home around their solar panels, their battery, their car. And I think that change is a really good thing because it will mean that energy's greener because all those things are kind of renewable. And so there'll be lower carbon emissions, which will be good for climate change. It'll also mean that energy is less centralized, so people will be able to sort of make those choices for themselves. But I think in order for that whole system to work, you need to solve these quite complicated data science problems, engineering problems, in order to make it simple for people to install those devices and make the most of them.
Now, as part of all of this, and indeed when I was diligencing to invest, the thing that sort of stood out for me is that you're actually operating as a B Corp. Which took me a while to understand fully and appreciate as a venture capitalist and whether we should be investing behind a B Corp. I now believe we should be, by the way. You've been quite clear that the company is more about just shareholder value, and very clear to me up front that it's more than just shareholder value. What does it mean to be a B Corp, and what does it mean to kind of run a business like this? Yeah,
I'm really glad you asked, because I always not many people know what B Corps are and what that movement is, so it's good to talk about it. So a B Corp is a company that has met rigorous social and environmental standards and they're assessed externally. And so in order to be a B Corp, you have to meet those standards. Being a B Corp also means that the legal documents that enshrine the company are different from a normal company. So normal companies, the directors of that company are responsible primarily to their shareholders. And in our documents, it uses a different word. It says stakeholders, because we want to take shareholders into account, but we also take into account the employees of the company, the customers of the company, the community in which we live, and the environment. And the reason that was important for us was because, well, I don't know, I guess it's just these are important problems that we're solving today, right? Like climate change is going to affect our lives and our children's lives, and I think business has a huge role to play in solving those problems, and we wanted to try and prove that you could be a technology business, but also have a positive effect on the world beyond shareholder return. I mean, we do think shareholder return is important. I don't want to sort of panic you, but it's you'll want.
Not a great time to bring up this topic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, so building a lot of tech. That tech is primarily for solving the sort of the one-way electricity and gas grid that we have today. Mm-hmm. You're planning and plotting and beginning to build some of the tech for the future of this two-way grid, where the house becomes a producer of electricity as well as a consumer of electricity, and you've got electric cars everywhere, and it all becomes very complicated. You're then taking that business and then announcing.
Oh, yeah. So.
Because it was supposed to be a lead-in from one of the earlier questions, but you missed your
Yeah. So yeah, we've been working on this for a while now. Bulb's mission is to help people reduce their carbon emissions and lower their bills. And we are based in the UK, and the UK has one of the more advanced grids and energy markets in the world. But we're continuing to grow rapidly in the UK. But we've always wanted to take our mission beyond the UK, and what we're announcing today is that we are doing that. So we've been looking at a long list of territories and countries in which we could also help people lower their carbon emissions and lower their bills. And we've picked a first wave of three, which those three countries will be France, Spain, and Texas. Texas, country. Obviously not a country. Sorry, three areas. I don't know if there's any Texans in the audience. And yeah, this is it's exciting because, well, it's exciting for me because I'm really quite optimistic about what we can do for the consumers and the people in those markets. It's exciting for the team at Bulb because there's going to be opportunities for us to learn from those countries and share what we learn in those countries in the UK and yeah, it's going to be an adventure.
Now, when do you think you can actually be sort of live and taking on customers?
So, when we launched in the UK, which was in August 2015, we had a period of time that it was sort of closed. We had a small number of customers because we wanted to make sure everything worked in an automated way, and it's very important for us to deliver good service. And then once that period had been established, we then began to spend more on marketing and grow the customer base. We're going to take a very similar approach in these three new markets that we're launching in. So later this year, we'll begin that kind of friends and family beta phase.
Do you have friends and family in France, Spain, and Texas?
No, I don't, but I know
we'll find some.
I know some people who do. Yeah, we've recruited some great people to lead these countries, and then early next year, that's when we're planning to open it up to more people.
Now, you went from late 15. This isn't in the Q&A, by the way. You went from late 15, 0 homes connected. Mm-hmm. To today, 1.3 million, which is what? It's like 5% of UK households or so?
Approximately.
Approximately 5% of all UK households?
Yep.
can we expect in a sort of a similar time frame to have 5% of all households in France, Spain, and Texas? Or should we not answer that?
The reason we chose those countries as a first wave is because the regulatory environment is friendly, so there's good ingredients for growth. And we believe that by providing the bulb proposition that we're able to offer in the UK, we will have a significant advantage versus the other suppliers in those markets. I mean, every country is different. You have some have higher switching rates than others, but maybe.
And do we think we can pull the existing tech stack and platform that we're building for the UK? That's what we're going to sit on top of for France, Spain, and Texas?
Yeah, so there are huge similarities in the way energy works across countries. There are obviously some differences as well. The way we've been able to construct this is there are obviously core services that all 4 countries will be using, and then there's a sort of communication layer that needs to take place between. So in each country there's communication that Bulb has with the grid. There's communication that Bulb has with other energy companies, and so those communication services will be obviously customized for each country. But we've been able to recycle and reuse a huge amount of what we have in the UK in each of those countries.
Yeah, I think actually that's been a big part of the last 8 months, is moving from building technologies to fix some of the issues you had in the UK to actually building a platform of technologies that you can use elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's and actually I think the way energy companies used to run themselves was with these large, monolithic systems that were very hard to decompose, and so having a classic microservices architecture means we're able to more easily adapt to these new markets.
So we talked about moving from this sort of one-way grid of electricity and gas to two-way.
Yeah.
Talked about the first wave of countries and territories, which obviously means there's hopefully a second and a third and a fourth wave. So if we summarize all that, what's your vision for sort of 10 years? What is Bulb in 10 years?
Wow. So I think there's probably three parts to it. So the first is around the service that we're providing to our members. Bulb's NPS today is, I think, 49. I think we think we can improve it, but I really want Bulb to be world famous for delivering great service to people. The second thing that our ambition is to be supplying millions and millions of homes with affordable renewable energy, and really changing the energy mix of grids around the world. I think renewables in the UK over the last 5 years have grown. As about 1% of homes were buying renewable energy before Bulb started, and that's now up to about 8 or 9%.
And you're more than half of that.
We are around that, yeah. And so I'm really proud to be part of a group of companies who are helping people switch to renewables, and I hope we can replicate that trend across the world. And then I think that the third thing, you talked about the two-way grid, but I think Bulb can be a real catalyst to that, right? We're not going to do it on our own. There's lots of other companies that need to participate in that market, but I think if we can trigger those changes, we'll have a really positive effect, again, on our mission around helping people lower their bills and lower their usage, because the greenest unit of energy is the unit of energy that you don't use. And those, again, which might be concerning, because it might reduce our revenue. But I think that's another thing that we could really lead in each of the countries that we're operating in.
So final question. I know your ambition is to be the biggest energy supplier in the UK, but give us a one-line tagline of what the real ambition is in terms of carbon neutrality, etc. So how do we sort of say, what is Hayden really, why are you getting up in the morning? So yes, biggest supplier in the UK, build all this great technology, roll out lots of countries, but like, why do you get up in the morning? What's the one line?
Oh my God.
Again, this wasn't prepared, so now he has to think.
I guess it's just to prove that it's possible. I think that there are so many challenges in making this happen. And before we started Bulb, everyone said you're absolutely crackers. Like, you know, why on earth would you do this? But I think it's not just me that's crackers. By the way, I've got a crackers co-founder, and well, there's about 400 mad people back in the office. But I think that what we've been able to do so far is prove that consumers will switch to renewable energy in the UK, which hadn't been proven, you know, up until that point. And I really hope that we can do that across multiple countries. There is no global energy supplier today. Like, that doesn't exist. It's all like lots of individuals, you know, companies in one country, or maybe like 2 or 3, but not more than that. And what I would really like us to do is to sort of lead that global change and switch to renewables. I don't know, do I think about that every single morning? You know, maybe, but...
There's also not one line, but we can work on it. Yeah. We'll get there. Hayden, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.